Hey, welcome to Quick Answers with Craig. This is a simple, encouraging way to answer questions that people are asking. When you hear the phrase quick answers, I don't want you to think of simple answers. Now, they're really actually complex answers to really complex questions. We just do them in an abbreviated way. So today's question is a question that you would not believe how many times people have asked me this question, and that is, why is it important for us to take wedding vows in a formal ceremony? So often the attitude is, particularly among young people, is like, what difference does a piece of paper make? Like, why do I need to go to church, or why do I need a justice or go to the courthouse to make my marriage vows significant? In fact, for many people, they choose to forget about it, and they're just, we're going to live together. We call it cohabitating in our day and age. I make a promise to her, she makes a promise to me. That's it. If we decide to break up, we don't have to go through all the legal entanglement of the courts and the family and the church. Like, what is the significance of an actual formal ceremony? So first of all, I would say, in the biblical sense of the term, the word covenant is something that's actually done with witnesses. So that's because the very nature of a covenant is an agreement between two or more people, and that agreement involves a tremendous amount of trust among those people. It's one thing for me, I'm married, to say to my wife that I love her and cherish her and honor her and will be faithful to her privately in the backseat of a car or on a moonlight walk among the lake. It's an altogether different matter if I make that commitment to her publicly. You notice if you've been to a Christian ceremony, it starts in most traditions by saying, dearly beloved, we're gathered here together in the sight of God, or the presence of God, and the presence of these family and friends to unite this man and woman. And so we recognize in that moment that marriage is much more than just a societal kind of idea. We believe that God actually created and instituted marriage. So we also recognize marriage was a ceremony, or as a ceremony, was actually sanctified by Christ with his first miracle at the wedding at Cana in Galilee, where he beautified and sanctified marriage in that moment. And then we go on to say that in the service, we acknowledge that God regulates the marriage. So not only does he create it, he regulates it. He didn't just invent it and give it to us to handle how we wanted to handle it. Rather, he remains the ultimate authority in marriage. So when I have a solemn assembly or covenant marriage, I believe solemn assemblies is part of that regulative kind of principle of marriage that comes to us from God and comes to us from Scripture. And we recognize, though, that it doesn't have to be done in a church, right? We recognize marriage is instituted for all people, whether they're Christians or non-Christians, and that's why we recognize marriages performed by civil authority or some ecclesial authority. Normally it's a pastor or a priest. But without the witnesses, there's no legal covenant, no legal commitment, no formal binding responsibility for me to keep my promises. And so that's why we do it in the presence of other people, right? When I stand in front of every authority structure that means anything to me, my family, my friends, my church, the state, right? Even if I don't take the promise seriously, or my friends don't, or if the church doesn't, or even if the state doesn't, God certainly is going to take those promises for real. And at least in our culture, even today, with the loose laws of divorce, I think the state still takes those vows very seriously. And as believers, of course, as Christ followers, we definitely need to say, hey, there is a presumption of the permanence of this marriage. So this has been Quick Answers with Craig. Appreciate it so much. Make sure if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to do so. You can hit the bell as well and stay up to date with all of our content. We'll be back next time.